Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. My name is Matt Morris. I am your host. We are live right now on YouTube at Matt Morris TV, as well as on Rumble at Matt Morris TV. Ladies and gentlemen, right this very moment, as you might have noticed, really for the last 24 hours or so, the Democrat political establishment, as well as the left-wing mainstream media, is pretty much doing every single thing they can to push the narrative that President Trump, really his entire administration, namely Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, are war criminals, that they've been engaging in war crimes by nature of blowing up all of these narco-trafficking boats off of the coast of Venezuela, in the Caribbean, and in the Gulf of America. And now, not only is the Democrat political establishment and the left-wing mainstream media pushing this narrative, fighting tooth and nail to convince the nation that Trump is a war criminal, that Pete Hegseth is a war criminal, but now, as of about 2 hours ago, maybe 3, Republican, in perhaps name only, Rhino, Senator Rand Paul has actually decided, I kid you not, to side with the Democrat political establishment, with the left-wing mainstream media propaganda apparatus. He has decided to work with Chuck Schumer and Senator Adam Schiff in order to put a stop to what President Trump is doing. Rand Paul is now helping them push the narrative, but also he's now colluding with Schumer and Adam Schiff. And so, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a lot to talk about. We are going to break down this entire dynamic, this entire situation, to make perfect sense of it. We're going to talk about Rand Paul and really this entire narrative in sort of a comprehensive way. And so, to kick off today's news, first I want to say, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. We've had some weird bugs on YouTube lately. Not on Rumble. Rumble has been flawless, but we have had some weird bugs on YouTube. So please make sure to subscribe, like. If you're new here, get it out of the way. Hit the like button, subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And on Rumble as well, what I like to say is follow me everywhere except not in real life. Okay? So let's get into the news. Thank you all for being here. Take a look at this. Breaking news as of just 3 hours ago, less than 3 hours ago. Senator Rand Paul, Chuck Schumer, and Adam Schiff, as well as numerous others, have now filed to block President Trump from engaging in hostilities against Venezuela as the narco strikes ramp up. President Trump, his Department of War, led by Pete Hegseth, they have blown up now 19, 20, maybe more. We might be in the low 20s now. These narco trafficking boats, some of them, they're sort of actually a boat submarine hybrid. 10% of the vehicle is above the water, 90% is below the water, kind of skirting in an incognito, hidden, stealth way. Not too stealthy, though, because the Department of War has been blowing these things up left and right. And every single time, they're full of drugs. They're loaded up to the brim with drugs. They're trying to traffic narcotics into the country. And Rand Paul has taken issue with this. According to Rand Paul and Chuck Schumer and Adam Schiff, I suppose, we as a nation, President Trump, he's supposed to wait for these vehicles to successfully dock at a U.S. port or pull up on a U.S. beach. And then you can catch them, and then you can stop them, and then you can apprehend them. You can't blow them up in the water. You need to wait for them to make landfall on the United States shoreline, and then we can apprehend the traffickers. Then we can take the drugs and give them a fair trial or something. I guess that's the notion. Now, Rand Paul, a couple hours ago, earlier today, posted this on X, formerly known as Twitter, just about 2 or 3 hours ago. He said, the Coast Guard reports that over 3/4 of all the boats they stop have drugs. That's a great job and an admirable record for accurate information. But it's not so great if you're drone striking them instead of arresting them. If you're killing people, 1 out of 4 potentially being wrong is too many. And so this is just like peak insanity. Here you have Senator Rand Paul saying that Out of all the boats the Coast Guard apprehends, over 75, might be 80% of them, 75, 76% of them are in fact carrying drugs, narcotics. But there's still 20 or 25% of them that are not. Therefore, it is not okay to blow them up with drone strikes. As if these boats, these drug trafficking vessels that President Trump is blowing up, Pete Hegseth, they're blowing up with targeted drone strikes, as if there is a similar 20 or 25%, lack of confidence rating here. Listen, just to be very clear, this is the Department of War. This is the U.S. military. We have the best intelligence apparatus of anywhere in the world, okay? We know for a fact all of these narco trafficking boats, they're using satellite imagery. They're tracking who's on the boats, what's inside the barrels on the boats, what's inside the bags on the boats, where are the barrels and bags coming from, where are the people coming from. You can bet your sweet behind that the Trump administration, the Department of War, they know exactly who is on these boats. Where did the boats take off from? What is on the boats? The stuff that is on the boats, where did that stuff come from? What warehouse? What truck? What drug manufacturing facility? Where did those precursor chemicals come from? Where did those come from? What port or what truck did they come from? This entire process, we have the most advanced intelligence apparatus in the world. We know for a fact. This is actually insane that he would say this, because the Coast Guard, they are intercepting random boats at random. Do you understand what that means? Out of these random boats, the Coast Guard is intercepting, over 75% of them are trafficking narcotics. These are boats that the Coast Guard is intercepting at random, okay? Well, President Trump is not drone striking random boats. They are engaging in incredibly highly targeted, specific precision drone strikes on specific boats, on targeted boats, boats that they know they have the confirmation who and what is on them. They're not blowing up random boats and hoping there's drugs on them. They are targeting boats specifically that they know drugs are on, that narco traffickers are on. So to project this 25%, rate on, this is just insane. This is nonsensical. Now, Rand Paul goes on to say earlier today he issued a statement on Twitter here. A video statement. We'll take a listen to this.
If they're armed, show us that they're armed. If they're not armed, explain to us why we kill people who are not armed. So we usually think of war, we think of those people are taking up arms and they may kill our soldiers, so we kill them first. That's war. But these people, we haven't been told if they have arms. 2 of them they killed in the water, but 2 of them they scooped up. And did they arrest them for drugs and get drugs that were floating around in the sea? Did they look for arms? No, they just released them and said, go back to your home country.
So Rand Paul is saying that unless these narco trafficking boats have firearms on them, we're not allowed to blow them up. Unless we know the boats have arms. He's really hung up on this. Unless we know that the boats have arms on them, we're not allowed to blow them up. As if criminal narco traffickers being on the boat alongside God knows how many pounds, dozens of pounds, hundreds of pounds of narcotics also being on the boats, as if that's not enough. They need to have a gun. These boats have to have guns on them to be worth blowing up. Really?
Which really wasn't Venezuela, it was Colombia and Ecuador. So I think this whole thing is a terrible situation, but we as a country should not be so easygoing as to say, well, an accusation is enough. We sometimes make mistakes, even in our country, even when we're very, very careful. The DNA Innocence Project found that there were people in jail in our country with full due process, but we made a mistake. They've been in jail for 20 years. Do we really think blowing up?
This is insane. This DNA Innocence Project, we're talking about criminals that were taken into custody and put in prison before the advent of DNA tracking, before DNA was even trackable or measurable or even analyzable. And then with the advent of DNA analysis, then they went back and said, oh, wow, this person is actually wrongly imprisoned. And we don't really have those. This is like a turn of the 1980s, 1990s phenomenon when DNA first hit the scene. We haven't really had this problem for 35 or 40 years because after the mid to late 80s, early 90s, we've been always using DNA. He's having to go back real far. He's going back real far if he's bringing this up. And once again, by the way, the ego, the hubris to say, well, I'm a random guy and I haven't seen any proof. I haven't seen any proof that there's narcotics on these boats, so we got to let them in the country. We can't do anything about it. Are you in the intelligence community? Are you in the Department of War? Are you the one looking up? Are you the one watching the drones? Are you the one looking at the satellite imagery? You're not. You're not. And also, in my opinion, it would be idiotic, it would be incompetent for the Department of War to release this type of information. This is highly sensitive information. If we were to release all of this information that they have confidentially to the public, then that would be a national security problem, because then we would be releasing the ways in which, the degree to which, the capacity with which the Department of War can track and monitor various targets. Frankly, I don't think that we should have all that information. To be honest with you, I think there needs to be a certain level of confidentiality with this type of information. And I have faith that the Trump administration has that information and that they are using that information. But if the Trump administration were to release all of this satellite imagery and all of the longitudinal target tracking information that they have that we don't have, and if that was all made public, do you think that might benefit a country like China to know how the technology we have and how we track all of this stuff? Do you think China might benefit from that being public? Yeah, or Russia or Iran or whoever else, or any delinquent country across the country. There's a reason why a lot of this stuff is classified. It's to prevent other countries from sort of learning how we do what we do.
Boats without any kind of process. We got records from the Coast Guard yesterday that we released of boats stopped off of Venezuela before we had this new policy. So we've had an interdiction policy for 100 years probably, where we interdict people on the open seas, and the Coast Guard does it. The Coast Guard statistics say that of boats off Venezuela, 21% of those boats didn't have drugs. And it's amazing to listen to some of the support for this. It's like, well, 79% is pretty good. It's like, really?
The Coast Guard is randomly stopping boats. This is incomparable. You cannot compare the two dynamics. He is comparing random Coast Guard boat stops, maritime travel stops, conducted by the Coast Guard at random, to information-based targeted drone strikes. This is ridiculous to even compare these two things.
You'd kill 21% innocent people just because, well, the majority of them must be drug dealers, so we're fine. No, that's not very thoughtful, and it's actually an extraordinary and reprehensible precision.
He was confirmed by the narrowest of margins, including with the support of your vote. When you look back at that, was that the right vote?
I'm going to reserve judgment until we have an investigation, but I think there needs to be an investigation. I think he needs to testify under oath as to what the orders were that were given. I'm sure they're on paper as well. But we also need to see the video. If there's video of people clinging to the remnants of a boat and being bombed, I think that image is one that will shock American people.
Have you seen the IG Signalgate report yet? I know that's going to be released to Congress.
Yeah.
If every single American was like Rand Paul in 1776, we wouldn't have a country. Seriously, we would not have a country. If every single American had Rand Paul's approach to national security, we would have lost every single war this country's ever fought. We wouldn't even have a country in the first place. The Barbary pirates would have raided and pillaged Americans for decades. In fact, the Barbary pirates would still be raiding and pillaging Americans to this very day.
It's going to be redacted. Do you expect to see that at all?
So far, I haven't been included in any briefings. The briefings are only for people who are sympathetic to the bombings. Anybody who has questions doesn't get briefed typically.
But on Signalgate, though, the IG...
No, on the IG, no. I don't know on that. I don't have information on that.
This is kind of tangential news. The Signalgate situation, now we know that Pete Hegseth, really everyone involved in the Signalgate fiasco, is totally exonerated. We now know research and report has now been conducted proving that actually no confidential information was leaked. Everything has been vindicated. Hegseth has been vindicated. Yet another far-left Democrat anti-Trump hoax. Yet another hoax. And now we are seeing yet another hoax. Now we're seeing people like Rand Paul and the far left, CNN, MSNBC, All these Democrat politicians, they're saying, Trump, you're not allowed to blow up narco traffickers. This is just absurd. This is just absurd. I'm sorry. This is absolutely insane. And now we have more information here. Emerald Robinson, who is a reporter, former reporter for Newsmax and OANN, highly respectable reporter. She comes out in response and says, Dear Rand Paul and Lisa Murkowski, who has also endorsed this idea, this is called a go fast boat. How many engines are on the back of that damn thing? Do you run three outboard engines with 900 horsepower combined when you go fishing? With plastic bags everywhere on the open deck? Both of you are too stupid to be senators, or you are corrupt. I have to say, like, for a long time, I think on a human-to-human level, I want to like Rand Paul so much, but he really is just... I think I have to say, man, for a long time, I have liked Rand Paul as a human. But at this point, man, I think I just have to stop liking him. I think at this point, this is big drama, ladies and gentlemen, big drama of the day. I am ready to announce I no longer like Rand Paul. And it almost pains me to say that. I almost, like, my heart weeps to say that, but I think I have to come to terms with the reality of the situation. I think I just don't like Rand Paul anymore. This is like beyond the pale. This is total insanity that he's pushing back on this. And he's also carrying water for the far left. He's working with the Democrats to push this narrative. He's colluding with Adam Schiff and Chuck Schumer really to try to push forth these war crime charges. Now, by the way, I want to give you the details here. I want to get everything out on the table here. So what Rand Paul, Adam Schiff, Murkowski, Chuck Schumer are trying to do, to be very clear, they're trying to invoke the War Powers Resolution. What the War Powers Resolution would do is prevent the president from carrying out these targeted strikes. In this case, President Trump from blowing up these narco trafficking boats. Now, this is the process. How would this work? So a simple House majority and a simple Senate majority would be needed to push forward the War Powers Resolution, and then it would land on the desk of President Trump. And then President Trump would have to himself sign off on the invocation of the War Powers Resolution after a simple majority in the House and the Senate pushed it onto his desk. So the question is Trump going to, if this did pass by simple majority in the House and the Senate and land on Trump's desk to limit his own powers to blow up narco trafficking boats, would Trump sign this? Obviously not. Trump wants to keep on blowing up narco boats, as he should be. As he should. Okay, and then it goes back to the House and the Senate. After Trump would override this and veto and say, I'm not signing this, I'm going to keep on blowing up narco boats, then the House and the Senate would have another option to override Trump's veto. But in order to override Trump's veto, the House and the Senate would need a 2/3 supermajority in both the House and the Senate to do so. To put the numbers out here on the table, that would require 288 votes in the House and 66 votes in the Senate to override the president, to stop Trump from blowing up these narco boats. Is that going to happen? Is the House ever going to get together 288 votes? Is the Senate going to put together 66 votes to stop President Trump from blowing up the narco boats? The answer, simply put, is no. That is not going to happen. That's obvious. That's clear as day. It's not going to happen. And so really what Rand Paul is doing here, he knows all of this. He's constitutionally educated. He knows that that's not going to happen. He knows that Trump would veto this. He knows it would get kicked back to the House and the Senate and require a 2/3 supermajority. He knows that's not going to happen. So really what he is doing now is grandstanding. This is political theater. This is all about optics. This is all about, and you might notice at this point, for the last 11 months, this is pretty much all he has ever done during Trump's first term and now in Trump's second term. For the last 11 months, all he has ever done is just counter signal every single thing Trump has tried to do in totally ineffective ways. He will always try to counter signal Trump in a way that is not even effective. He knows he's not even going to get what he wants, but he will always come out and say, no, we're not going to do this. No, whether it's the big, beautiful bill, whether it's opening up the government, whether it's, in this case, with the narco trafficking, the narco boat bombing situation, he knows like nothing he does is actually effective. He's never successful in anything. His entire career, at least when Trump is in the White House, curious, can't help but notice that, his entire agenda is just virtue signaling. It's just grandstanding. And it's not even effective either. And so that's kind of where we're at. But now we have more news coming out today. Per the AP, the Associate Press, we got a report coming out earlier today. One of the people that the Trump admin blew up in this September 2nd, this infamous drone strike where they double tapped, the legendary double tap where they blew up the boat. There were survivors and then they blew them up again to make sure they took out the narco traffickers. We have a confirmation that one of the two survivors is Luis Che Martinez, who is a 60-year-old longtime local crime boss who made a living smuggling drugs as well as people, human trafficker, across the southern border. Curious. So it would almost seem as if these boat strikes are not random, that they are not indiscriminate, that the Trump administration, that actually I am right about this, that a lot of you are right about this, that the Trump administration and the Department of War, they actually do know who's on the boats and what is on the boats and where these people came from and where the drugs came from. It's almost as if they are not just randomly blowing up innocent fisher boats. How weird is that? Totally curious. Gauging public sentiment here. Out of all the things that Congress should be focused on right now, Rand Paul is fixated on the due process rights of drug cartel criminals. You can't make this up. Goes on to say, what a small, pathetic man. With Republicans like him, who needs Democrats? Well, you might notice every single time there is a vote of consequence in the Senate, who does Rand Paul vote with? He just votes. You know, I guess this word rhino, it's a little bit overused, but it's like if you are a Republican, if you have the R next to your name, and on every single consequential vote, you vote alongside the Democrats, you vote against President Trump's America First agenda, then yeah, I mean, pretty much you are terminologically a Republican in name only if you just do nothing but vote alongside the Democrats. Mike Cernovich, he went on to say this. Pete Hegseth is not bombing innocent fishermen. If Rand Paul or Mark Kelly believe this, they would have a moral duty to storm his office. Really disgusted by this latest psyop. People are playing dumb FFS for F's sake. They have eyes on the drug deals from jump. So finally, somebody has a sensible opinion here. Like this notion that the Department of War is just blowing up random boats as opposed to boats that they have been monitoring and tracking the people, the materials, the drugs, the barrels, the bags. This is just insanity. Of course, the Department of War, once again, I'll say it again, of course they know who's on these boats, exactly who's on these boats. They know where their apartments are. Where is the domicile of the people on the boats? Where do they live? Who are they married to? What's their daily commute? What car do they drive? What's their license plate number? Where did they have lunch 7 days ago? All of this stuff. You have to know. They know this. This is the United States military we're talking about. They know all of this. 100%. Another user goes on to say, I'd rather blow up 1,000 narco-terrorists than have a single American die from a drug overdose. Do you agree, yes or no? This is This is obviously how I feel. The notion here is that, this is kind of the implication that the Trump administration should not be blowing up narco trafficking boats, that instead we need to wait for them to make landfall on some beach in the United States or some dock in the United States. And then after they've traveled all across the Caribbean and the Gulf of America, after they've successfully navigated up to the United States, then we are able to apprehend them and determine what's on the boat. And then we give them due process. We're going to give them a court date. And we're going to say, hey, you're a naughty narco trafficker. You're in big trouble, buddy. You're getting deported back to where you came from. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. There's this classic saying, how does it go? It's the 4-stage process. Good times create weak men create bad times create good men create good times, whatever. You guys know the process. Listen, this entire notion that we are not allowed to blow up narco trafficking boats as they are literally in the act of trafficking narcotics into our country, weak man behavior. This is the type of behavior that leads to bad times. And by bad times, I mean hundreds of thousands of Americans overdosing on fentanyl, getting addicted and dying and becoming homeless on the streets of our cities. This is the weak man behavior we're talking about that leads to the bad times. This is how we get the bad times, is turning a blind eye or behaving in an incompetent, weak way when presented with evil. Representative Anna Paulina Luna says, in case anyone is wondering, I am 100% in favor of blowing the crap out of narco-terrorist trafficking boats that are trying to kill Americans and hook our kids on crack. Or worse, maybe the crack is laced with fentanyl. Just in case there was any question, good for her. Good for her. Good for Representative Anna Paulina Luna. Dropping one bomb, and then this is how I feel about this double tap notion. Right now, one of these talking points across the nation as it relates to blowing up these narco boats is that, okay, maybe you're allowed to drop one bomb to try to blow up the narco traffickers on the boats. Okay, we'll grant you that, but you're not allowed to drop 2 bombs. You only have one shot, one chance, and if you mess up the first bomb or the first drone strike, you're not allowed to blow them up again. You're not allowed to take a second shot. That's where it's a war crime. Spare me. Shut the hell up. Shut up. Shut up. Dropping one bomb is allowed, but you can't double tap, shows the absurdity of the so-called law of war. You're only allowed to take one shot. You're not allowed. It's like, okay, listen, if you have identified narco traffickers, you're only allowed to try to stop them once. If you fail the first time, then you have to give up. This is just absurd. This is I feel like I'm living in Crazy Town. I feel like I'm the governor of Crazy Town. This entire dynamic. This has to be a psyop. This has to be a psyop. Because there's no way that people are actually this insane. As far as I'm concerned, if you miss the first shot, you take a second shot. If you miss the second shot, hell, take a third one, take a fourth one. I don't know, send a fifth one in. Make sure the threat is neutralized. These are narco traffickers. These are narco terrorists in the act of trafficking narcotics. Every single boat, as President Trump has said time and time again, every single boat has enough narcotics, deadly drugs to kill 25,000 Americans. Yeah, I'm done messing around. I'm not messing around. I'm done messing around. You know what? Give me an Xbox controller and I'll be the guy driving the drone. I'll do it. I'll be sitting back here at my desk like this with an Xbox controller. All right, I'm coming in with the Predator drone. Oh, I missed the first one. I'm going in for a second strike. That is the degree to which I feel about this. I have conviction here. We need, as a country, we need to stop messing around and gambling with the lives of Americans. Stop gambling with the lives of Americans. I'm done taking risks with this. Our country we have a rotting country. Americans are addicted. They're homeless. They're living on the side of the road. They're taking fentanyl. How many more dead Americans do we need to have rotting away to fentanyl addiction or crack addiction or whatever before we say, all right, enough is enough. Okay, enough. We've had enough dead Americans. Now we're finally going to take this problem seriously. Right now, we have over 1 million dead Americans. If you go back to the year 2020, if you go back to the year 2000, so you look at a 25-year window, I was reading a report that said that we've had 1.2 million dead Americans. 1.2 million dead Americans in the last 25 years as a consequence of drug trafficking coming from Latin America. Is 1.2 million not enough for you? Do we need to see 2 million dead Americans? What if it was 10 million dead Americans? How many dead Americans do we need to see? Do we need to have their bodies piling up on the side of the road in downtown Portland or Seattle or Baltimore or whatever else, Chicago, whatever your city, whatever city you live in? How many more dead Americans do we need to have before we say, okay, you know what? It actually is okay to blow up narco boats. It actually is okay to say, you know what? Playing defense has failed. Now we got to play offense. Now we got to play offense. Now we need to be proactive with our problem solving. Letting the drugs into our country and then trying to stop it, that is a losing proposition. We have been losing that battle for decades. Let's go on the offense now. Let's take it out at the source. Let's take it out when they are in the process of transporting these drugs into the country. Let's stop the drugs from coming in the country at all costs. We have a clip here out of CNN from last night.
But I feel like we're in the midst of another Russiagate hoax. There was a group of Democrats who said you can refuse illegal orders, and now they're out there in search of a war crime, and there absolutely isn't one. So what happened was the DOJ's Office of Legal Counsel issued a classified legal opinion authorizing these U.S. military strikes. At that point, the Department of, I guess I have to call it War, issued the directive that we were going to start hitting them. At that point, Admiral Bradley gave the order for the first strike. Pete Hegseth watched it. The boat caught fire. Now, in order to establish that a war crime happened, we have to know that the boat was completely destroyed. The military action, which was authorized by the DOJ under Article 2 powers, which Trump has the legal right to issue, that boat was destroyed, was no longer a threat, and that there were two people clinging to it for life who were also no longer a threat. We do not know that yet.
You don't really need to know
what happened
I tend to disagree. I mean, we do have a JAG lawyer who has a lot of experience with military strikes.
Please tell me, what am I getting
I think it's a really
because if the boat was only disabled and not destroyed, it is still a legitimate military target.
So, pardon my ignorance. Who's to say these narco traffickers are not a threat just by nature of their boat being out of service? Okay, the engine is on fire. The boat is inoperable. Does that mean that the two narco traffickers that are maybe floating or holding on to, does that mean that they are no longer threats? If not taken out, they will go back to their country and they will continue doing what they've been doing for their entire life, which is attempting to traffic narcotics into the United States of Americans and of America and kill Americans. So personally, here's my deal. I will default to the Department of War, our intelligence community, the Trump administration, really. I will take the Trump administration's word on this rather than CNN's word. On this topic, I'm going to listen to Trump and his administration instead of the experts at CNN. That is my personal opinion. We have GOP Senator Eric Schmidt, who answered a whole series of questions about this entire process. We'll take a listen to this.
Do you support Chairman Wicker holding an investigation of the second strike?
There's not going to be that's not going to happen.
He said he was.
That's not going to happen. There's going to be oversight like we've had, but this Democrat dream of some sort of like hearing when Pete Hegseth and President Trump, well within their articles of powers to take out narco-terrorists who are poisoning 100,000 Americans every year.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So we're going to have oversight. We always have oversight. But this desire by the Democrats to try to find some new thing, and I just want to put this, they're talking about prosecuting servicemen and women. So it's not enough that they censored Americans. It's not enough that they prosecuted their political opponent and tried to keep them from getting back in the White House. This is really, really dangerous road to go down. This isn't the language of we'll beat them in the next election, or we're going to have the debate in public and let the public weigh in. This is the language of a color revolution.
So it's your assessment after seeing the video that the Trump administration acted within its legal authority?
100%. 100%.
And did you learn that this morning,
and I say
or
that
is that your assessment all along?
From everything that I've seen, absolutely 100%. And to try to portray it as something otherwise, again, like I said, is incredibly dangerous.
NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman will be having a hearing tomorrow. What do you make of this nomination, and how do you?
I think he's going to be great. I really do. I think NASA needs the sort of steady leadership. We're in a real competition from a commercial.
So this is where he starts talking about NASA, but once again, I think the last video clip we saw put it the best. I really do think that this is just yet another psyop that is being perpetuated. They tried it with the signal leaks. They tried it with Russia collusion. They have tried so many things. You know, and what's insane to me is that right now, it is December 3rd, 2025. We actually have Republicans. We have people that are on the right side of the aisle that are falling for it. They are falling for it. They are agreeing with the Democrats. Yeah, well, maybe Trump did commit a war crime by blowing up narco terrorists in the Caribbean. Wow, yeah, maybe they have a good point. It's like, how are some people falling for this? This is just, it's like the 50th far left psyop. They're doing every single thing they can over and over and over again to undermine and subvert and kneecap the Trump administration, the America First agenda. You want to talk about America First? Let's talk about putting America first. Putting America first, implicitly, it also means putting Americans first. So why are we so concerned about the narco traffickers? Why are we more concerned about narco traffickers, narco terrorists from Venezuela or God knows where else? Why are we more concerned about them than we are all of us Americans in America who are dealing with the drug crisis and a fentanyl epidemic across the country? We've been losing hundreds of thousands of Americans. Why? I'm an America First guy. Why am I supposed to care more about narco traffickers than Americans living in America that are battling fentanyl addiction? I care about the Americans in America personally because I am America First. That is how I feel about this. Mark Wayne Mullen, another Republican senator, he chimes in. He says, Barack Obama killed hundreds of innocent civilians in drone attacks. Not a word from the liberals on his war crimes. Meanwhile, over 70% of Americans support President Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth blowing up narco terrorists who have poisoned our friends, family members, and neighbors before they reach our shores. 70% approval rating for blowing up these damn narco traffickers. Yet we are all being led to believe that this is super controversial. The nation is being torn apart. Actually, people are standing in solidarity here. Keep on blowing up the boats. Actually, let's keep on blowing up the boats. 70% of Americans. This really is actually not that controversial. These drug trafficking killers murdered more Americans last year than the U.S. lost in the entire Vietnam War. They don't give a rip about American lives. I am all for sending these killers to the bottom of the ocean. I agree. I'm old enough to remember when Obama's drone strike took out a wedding and the left stayed. I mean, there's a reason why for 8 years, the entire country called Obama the what they call him, the drone striker in chief or the drone bomber, the bomber in chief. I don't even know what they called him. I forget. But anyway, everybody knows that Obama was. You want to talk about indiscriminate drone strikes and drone bombings? Yeah. 8 years of that during the Obama era. And did any of these people on the left speak out about it? No. Once again, anti-Trump psyop, America last psyop, doing everything they can to not stick up for Americans, to not stick up for struggling Americans that are dealing with the consequences of all of these drugs coming in the country. Maybe you're not addicted to fentanyl yourself, but maybe it's your brother, maybe it's your son, maybe it's your daughter, maybe it's your cousin that you know, or a coworker of yours that you know, a loved one that has had to deal. At this point, like, the fallout from all of these drugs, these narcotics coming in the country, I think that it's fair to say pretty much every single American in the country has either been personally impacted by these drugs, this poison coming in the country, or you know somebody that has. Everybody in the country has been touched in some way by all of this narco trafficking. But we're supposed to feel bad that Trump is blowing up narco traffickers. I don't at all.
Do you think some people in this country don't want us to fight the war on drugs? Not because they like to do drugs, but for other reasons?
You know, it is interesting, the amount of money that is involved here in this drug trade and the drug trafficking. President Trump is not the first president to declare war on drugs, but he is the president who's taking it very seriously and actually doing something about it. And I would just say it's always good to follow the money. I mean, for the people all of a sudden who are like, wait, let's not get too serious about the war on drugs. It does make you wonder, where are the profits here? But I will just say at the end of the day, Jesse, I'm glad to have a president who is defending the people of my state, who is defending the people of every state in this country and putting them first, as opposed to foreign adventures somewhere else or the agenda of the deep state. He's actually trying to protect American communities.
Yeah, I'm sure the people of Missouri aren't really clutching their pearls about.
You see a lot of people in the country right now. MAGA, I'm a make America great again. America first. I'm a make America first again type of guy. But we shouldn't be blowing up narco traffickers literally in our own hemisphere, really in our own backyard as they are in the act of trafficking narcotics into the country. How America first are you? Really, you want to make America great again? That kind of means stopping the narcotics from coming in the country. You need to stop them before they get into the country. We've been playing whack-a-mole with narcotics in this country for decades now, trying to crack down on it after they've already made their way into the country. Doesn't seem to work. We need to stop them from getting into the country in the first place. Really, we have to. Marco Rubio kind of addresses this entire dynamic.
Also, you know, it's interesting, if an aircraft carrier of the United States was deployed off the coast of Japan, or was the coast on the Pacific somewhere, or was deployed in the Mediterranean, or in somewhere off the coast of Europe, everybody would be happy because it would show America's commitment to our security partnerships that we have around the world. But somehow, if an aircraft carrier and our naval assets are deployed in our own hemisphere, that's problematic. I would say that if you're focused on America and America first, you start with your own hemisphere where we live. What happens here, I'm not saying things that are happening halfway around the world are not important. I'm saying what happens in our hemisphere impacts us faster and more deeply than something that's happening halfway around the world.
This is absolutely true. I mean, listen, look at this. Both the left and the right, for a very long time, you know, our policy has been left and right. You call it the uniparty if you want. It's all good to deploy American military resources to protect Japan, to protect Taiwan, to protect Israel, to protect Europe, in this case, Ukraine. We're allowed to kind of get involved and protect everybody else. That's all good. That's what it means to be an American. That's what it means. You're not an isolationist, are you? Are you some type of dirty isolationist? We got to protect everybody, even though we're in $38 trillion of debt. However, the second we try to actually protect ourselves, the second we put a naval carrier group off the coast of Venezuela to try to crack down on drug trafficking, the second we actually try to protect ourselves with our own military and put the American people first, then it's a problem. Then, wait a minute. We can't do this. We shouldn't do this. We got to send this carrier group back over off the coast of Israel. That carrier group belongs in the Mediterranean protecting Israel. That carrier group, you know, belongs over in the Pacific Ocean. If we should be protecting Taiwan right now, whatever. It's like, are we not allowed to actually protect Americans? Are we not allowed to put Americans first ever? Is that not allowed? This is a little bit ridiculous. I'm a little bit tired of all the rhetoric. It's just like, come on. America first means Americans first. It means we protect Americans first before anybody else. It doesn't mean we don't protect other people. It doesn't mean we don't ever communicate or help. It doesn't mean we don't have any strategic alliances around the world. It doesn't mean we tell all of our friends, hey, go F yourself. We're done. However, if we're going to be helping other people, we had better make damn sure that we are protecting ourselves and taking care of ourselves first. America first. Americans first. We had sure as hell better not be giving money to other countries when we've got starving homeless people in our own country, veterans not being taken care of. There are countries halfway across the world that we give billions of dollars to every single year. They've got free health care. They've got all types of social service luxuries that we don't. They've got free university for their young adults. We give billions of dollars to those countries. We don't even have those things ourselves here. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? No, it doesn't. America first means Americans first. That's what it means. Now, President Trump was actually asked about this entire dynamic in the Oval Office earlier today.
It's found that survivors were actually killed while clinging onto that boat. Should Secretary Hegseth, Admiral Bradley, or others be punished?
I think you're going to find that this is war, that these people were killing our people by the millions, actually, if you look over a few years. I think last year we lost close to 300,000 people were killed. That's not mentioning all the families. Have you seen what happens with the families of not only the people killed, the people that are trying to get their son or their daughter off of this poison that they've been fed? I think you're going to find that there's a very receptive ear to doing exactly what they're doing, taking out those boats. And very soon we're going to start doing it on land too, because we know every route, we know every house, we know where they manufacture this crap, we know where they put it all together. And I think you're going to see it very soon on land also.
Wow, wait a minute. So everything that I was said about a half hour ago about the Trump administration knowing who's on the boats, where it comes from, what vehicles are involved, the license plate numbers, the houses, where do they live, what did they have for lunch 2 weeks ago, the manufacturing facilities, the transport routes, which roads are being used. What I said about the Trump administration knowing all of that, as it would turn out, the Trump administration actually does know about all of that. Go figure. Like I said, the Trump administration, they are not indiscriminately blowing up random boats, hoping that one of them has narcotics on it. This is a highly informed operation that they are carrying out with state-of-the-art intelligence, very obviously. They've got assets on the ground. They've got satellites up in the air. You know, I just think about Google Maps. You guys have used Google Maps before. You can zoom in, you can go street view. Google Maps is highly advanced. This is what we have access to publicly. This is what we have public access to. We are all civilians on our smartphones. What do you think the U.S. military has? What do you think the Department of War has access to? If we have access, if we can right now using Google Maps, we can zoom in and look at some guy's face and read the license plate on the back of a vehicle. What do you think the CIA or the Department of War has access to? They know every single step of the process here very clearly. And so Trump, he doubles down. He says, listen, not only are we going to keep on blowing up narco boats, but also we're going to start blowing up the land operations also. We're going to start blowing up the manufacturing facilities on land and the storage houses and the transport vehicles and all of their highways and whatever they use to transport these narcotics to get him on the boats and then send them up to us, it's all getting blown up. We know all of it. And you know what? Good. Not that Trump needs this, but he has my official Matt Morris endorsement on this. Now, at this point, I think what I want to do is go ahead and take a look at our super chats. I see one super chat over here on Rumble. This is from PS Farm Girl. Says rhinos showing themselves. I mean, they can't help it. These rhinos, they can't help it. They are just dying. They are dripping. They're like frothing at the mouth to try to undermine President Trump. Every single chant they'll say, "Oh, I'm with you. I'm on Team Trump." But then the second they have an opportunity, they'll say, "I'm America first." The second they have an opportunity to try to undermine and subvert what President Trump is doing, actually enacting the America First agenda, you're right, they reveal their true colors. They can't help themselves because really that's what they're all about. Now, I'm pulling up these super chats. That was our Rumble super chat, but we have some YouTube super chats as well. I will say, everybody, make sure to follow and like and subscribe. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in today. This is our second broadcast of the day. The first super chat on YouTube today was from Polly Puree. Polly Puree every day is tuning in saying, hey, what's up? Hi, Polly Puree. Welcome to the show. I'm happy you're here every single day. Delima, good Lord, this is a $100 super chat. $100 super chat. says, I hope you have a blessed Christmas and a happy new year. Thank you for doing your show, Matt. And thank you, Plathy and fam, for sharing. My wife is always happy to, she's actually upstairs taking care of the kids and watching the broadcast herself. I think she's probably watching the show right now. She's in the audience with you guys. So shout out my wife. Shout out Delima. Back at you and your family. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year's, Merry Christmas. Around these parts, we celebrate Christmas. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. And that goes for everyone else in the audience as well. Everybody tuning in YouTube and Rumble. Thank you all for being here. That was a big one. Thank you, Delima. Thank you very much. Amy Elizabeth says, Matt, never miss your show. If we're not born a U.S. citizen and contribute nothing to our society, please see your way out. You got to be a contributor. We saw the other day, this is a survey that said only 10% of illegal aliens nationwide are net economic contributors. 10%. Only 10%, which means 90% of the tens of millions of illegal aliens. They say we've got 50 million. Good God. What is this? Is like 42 or 43 million illegal aliens in the country are an economic drain. They are holding back the country. They are holding down the country. They're stifling our national success. Only the top 10% are actually positive contributors in our country. That is nuts. Thank you, Amy. Thank you very much. Polite Rude Guy, he says, remove Rand Paul, Trump 2028. I don't really have any illusions of Rand Paul getting primaried. I think he's safe. I think he's not going to get primaried. But time and time again, he's just doing everything he can to try to tear apart the momentum. Thank you, Polite Rude Guy. Dennis Mashburn, he says, screw Rand Paul. The Bearded Ham, he says, these people sound like the soundtrack of a stroke, so if they were toting a nerve agent, are they cool if they use it? I don't know. Hey, thank you, Bearded Ham. I appreciate that. Raya, who is always here every single day, and thank you, Bearded Ham. Raya, shout out Raya and her husband. She says, Matt speaks truth and isn't afraid to speak the truth. I live on an island that is 7 miles off of the Venezuela coast. Those are drug boats. Evil. I mean, there are so many people that are like, actually, Venezuelans themselves. I've seen Venezuelans on Twitter, on X, that are coming out and saying, even Venezuelans are blowing the whistle saying, yes, Maduro is terrible. Yes, he's a narco-terrorist. Yes, he's pulling all the levers here. Yes, this is a problem. He's been doing this for over a decade. Yes. Venezuelan here. Yes, this is a problem. So Raya knows. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Miss Kim said, drugs are arms. They kill as well as pew-pews. Yeah, let me think about this. I don't know the stats off the top of my head right now, but I bet money, I think I'm right about this, that every single year we actually have more people dying in this country to drug overdoses than we do firearm homicides. That would be my guess. Latin American drug overdoses or firearm homicides. I would bet that the drugs are actually killing more people every single year. So, you're right. You're right, of course, regardless of whether or not that's true. I think you're totally right. 100%. 100%. Polly Puree says Coca-Cola at Trump's request just released American-made Coca-Cola with cane sugar. It's in small glass bottles. I'm drinking right now. I got it from Walmart. Cane sugar Coca-Cola is always way better. Cane sugar is a better sweetener than corn syrup. We got to get rid of this corn syrup. I'm not a fan of it. Thank you, Polly Puree. Thank you very much. Thank you. Jeremy Gant, he says, Rand Paul is still upset about Trump not inviting him to the picnic. Let's go, Senator. Used to love this guy. I'm with you. I have always held Rand Paul. I've always known, maybe I don't agree with him on everything, but there's a part of me that's always liked the guy. But now it's like, dude, how many times are you going to try to tear apart the America First agenda before we all say enough is enough? Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. We have a super chat from The Left is Never Right. He says, do you find it funny all of a sudden nobody's talking about the seditious six anymore? Yeah, I think, I don't know what's going on here. It's a problem. Very clearly, everything that's going on here, all of this rhetoric, this entire narrative is obviously a part of this seditious six. It's like step 2 of the seditious six plan of attack. It's all coordinated. It's all premeditated. It's all tied together. The word a lot of people are using is color revolution. It's all part of the same agenda. Yeah, keep talking about it. Keep talking about it. Thank you. Thank you. Reminder, this is Mr. Chain Blue Lightning. He says, reminder, libertarians are just as lame as socialists. Policies don't work and are a pipe dream, cloak themselves in principles while being illogical. You know, here's the thing. I kind of agree with you. You know, maybe in some like alternate reality, maybe socialism is great and it would work if everybody had the same sense of values and everybody was on the same page. And it's kind of like that for libertarian. If everybody was a libertarian, if everybody deeply held these same libertarian convictions, maybe we could have this utopia. But the problem is we've got a country with 50 million illegal aliens. We are tearing each other apart. We've got ethnic infighting, ethnic rivalries, and cultural, a complete and total lack of homogeneity. The country is ripping itself apart. We have foreign nations looking to prey on us and take advantage of us, engaging in predatory economic trade deals, and they're trying to smuggle drugs in the country. The solution to all of these problems that we have, and Lord knows, we've got a hell of a lot of problems. The solution to the problems we have right now that are actively ripping the country apart, it's not libertarianism. It's not socialism. In fact, if we adopted as a country all of these principles in mass right now, we would be be torn apart even faster. If you're a libertarian and you really are concerned about property rights and the non-aggression principle, what do you do if you're the one guy in your neighborhood that is a libertarian and then everybody else around you is an illegal alien that doesn't give one crap about your non-aggression principle? What do you do if you're the one guy in your town that cares about the libertarian style non-aggression principle and property rights, and then all of your neighbors don't give one crap about property rights and the non-aggression principle? Well, you're out of luck. You're screwed. And that is the way the country's going. Do you think these 50 million illegal aliens care about property rights when they have illegally invaded the country? No. Very clearly, libertarian principles are not going to get us out of this mess. I wish we did have. I wish we did have the libertarian utopia. Sincerely, I wish we had that. But we live in reality, and it's just not the case. It's not the case. Hey, it's Lazy says, deport them all. Thank you, true. Ajax says, check Rand Paul's bank accounts. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think he's doing this out of principle. I just don't agree with him. I don't know that he's being paid off. I don't know. I doubt it. Henry Mann says, our hemisphere is America first, Monroe Doctrine. That's right. And allowing a narco-terrorist to just do his thing in our own backyard, really our own backyard. That's not exactly America first. Now we have a super chat from Hager Knacker, $20 super chat. He says, thanks, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you very much. Cryo says, thanks for the show. You're making a huge difference. You know, without you guys, there's no show. Without you, there's no show. Without you, there's no me. There would be no show. So really, it's really you folks tuning in on Rumble and on YouTube. Really, you guys are doing the show because without you, there is no me. So thank you all very much for tuning in. I think that said, I think that is going to be a wrap for today's broadcast. It's been a good show. Everybody, thank you very much for tuning in today. Make sure to follow, subscribe, like, everything, do it all. Thank you very much. Of course, we are back full steam ahead. Every day we're full steam ahead. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think we'll probably have a video and a broadcast. Every day we're doing our daily evening broadcasts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Western. Thank you all very much for tuning in. God bless. And of course, as always, stay safe. I'll see you folks tomorrow. And we're going to be breaking down whatever tomorrow's news is as well. We're going to break it down. Thank you, folks, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.